I'm going to record the sesh. So if you're brand new, welcome in. If this is your first time, I think it might be for a couple of you. You're following me. You're going to be level one for everything. I'm going to be talking through, as well as doing, which is fine, the reconditioning exercises that we do at the beginning of the class, well, the first half of the class. And then I'll be guiding us through our lovely yoga relaxation. So if you know you're really tired today and you're very, very much pacing yourself, maybe you've got other stuff you need to do later today, which is also going to drain the battery, just work right down at level one with the reconditioning and focus on the relaxation part of the yoga, okay? So there are 3 levels. And if you're level 2, level 3, you know you're that already. You're definitely not level 2 or 3 if this is new to you or if you're in your first week or 2. So we ask you to give it a good test set of time to make sure that your body doesn't react in an adverse way. And it is important when we get to the point of feeling like we want to do a bit more to notice what else we do in our day on the day that we already do something like this class, okay? So just taking it really slowly and carefully is super important. Okay, I'll take off my reading glasses. You will need, and I know lots of you know already because you've been coming for a long time, but if you're level 1, there's an exercise where we use a cushion underneath the back of our knees. So some kind of cushion, maybe it's a pillow. I often have that and a cushion for my head if we do a reclining twist, which I think we're going to do today. And then something like a scarf or just a jumper or a belt or something. So this is a yoga belt, doesn't have to be a yoga belt. It could just be something that you can put around your foot, just so we get to stretch out the limbs. So something that you can hold on to stretch your legs with. All right, could just be a pair of pajama bottoms you've got lying around. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't have to be a technical piece of equipment. All right. I've been teaching this class now since September last year, right? And today is the first day, and I'm actually going to move my cushion into a more practical position. Because when we get to do the leg strengthening exercise, my cushion's always down here and I'm lying here. So I'm just going to be really practical. I've been sort of for months now, always having to do a kind of partial sit-up to get it. It's habit because I keep my cushion there, my bolster there for my yoga classes. I'm going to have it right next to me, and I would encourage you to do the same. So, welcome in, friends and all. I'm in Brighton. It's a very sunny day here. I'm hoping it stays that way. That always helps. We are lying on our back. Now, if you really hate lying on your back, what I would encourage you to do is put like a long pillow underneath you. Level 2, level 3, you already know. You should probably have a resistance band on for doing bridge now. Level 1, just stick with me. Don't get anything like a resistance band out of your wardrobe. We're going to put our hands down on the floor and we're simply starting with bridge pose. So bridge is great because it just rolls the spine as well as strengthens the legs. So let's give it a go. Inhale. As you exhale, you're going to roll up, just gently pressing the hips up in the air. Take a moment here and then roll back down. Now we aim to do between 6 and 8 exercises in a session. So knowing that, you might just want to do 1 of each thing, okay? It's a maximum of 4 if you've been coming for a class or 2 already. If you are level 2, level 3, you can do up to 6 or indeed 8, maybe even 10 if you're level 3. But it is important that you get to rest in between. So if you're brand new, I would say stop. Even if you feel like you could do more, it's really important that you don't. I'm going to demonstrate 1 more. This will be my 3rd. And just rolling back down. And when we come to that rest, we straighten down the legs so that everything can really surrender down into stillness. Good. So I know there's some of you watching, you're not participating in this bit, that's fine. What I would encourage you to do whenever we take a rest is to take that rest with us. So I like to put 1 hand on the lower abdomen, 1 hand on the lower ribs, and just observe that gentle lift and fall as I breathe in and out. And what we aim to do throughout the whole of this class is slow the breathing rate down. Get it down into your tummy a bit more if you can. Slow the breathing rate down. Okay, good. I think you've all stopped. I'm going to bend my legs. And we're going to move on to the next one, which is the fly. So this is a little something for our arms, just bringing a little bit of toning back to the arms and the muscles in the chest. When we're deconditioned, the arms really feel like they have no strength. So don't be surprised if this is quite hard. Level 2, level 3, you can pick up your little tins of beans. Or level 3, if you're onto hand weights already, grab those. We're going to bring the hands together above the chest. Level 1, we only clench our fists. We turn the hands away from us and drop them down and lift them up. I'm going to do that again. If 1 was enough for you, then let your arms rest down. This can be quite a hard exercise. I'm going to bring them up, turn the palms, bring them down, and lift them up. Now I'm stopping there at 2. If you've been coming for a couple of weeks, but you're still level 1, by all means do 1 or 2 more. It's a maximum of 4 for level 1. Again, when we're in rest, those legs come all the way down. Hands back on the abdomen. Slow inhale, slow exhale. So if you're doing things with your arms around the house, you will be noticing probably that it makes you much more tired than it ever used to. Not that we're, not feeling energetic, not that we're feeling energetic, but the arms particularly, if you're hanging laundry or doing anything where you're having to lift with the arms, you will notice that that makes you particularly exhausted. So just doing really small amounts of work just to try and keep the muscles in a little bit of condition is a good idea. And as you progress through the classes, you will get stronger. And I'm watching my level 3s on the screen now, doing sort of 10 reps with weights. So it does change. The journey is a slow and graceful one. Let's just put it that way. Okay, level 3s. I think some of you just need to be stopped. Put them down. There we go. Take a stillness. Breathing in, breathing out. All right. The next thing we're going to do is the leg lift. So level 2, level 3, you all know what you're doing with this one. You're going to be up on your elbows. You can put the resistance band around your legs. This is where level 1s, we get our very handily placed cushion and put it underneath the backs of our legs. Because we're staying lying down, and this is very much for strengthening up the quads, those important muscles on the front of the thigh. So I'm going to be straightening out my right leg, but keeping the back of the knee on the cushion. I take a flex and a point of the foot. You'll feel that quadricep tighten and then lower it down. Now the leg muscles don't get as tired as the arm muscles. So I'm fine for you to play with this 2, 3, maximum of 4 level 1ers. That's each side. But if you notice already that it's something that's causing a response in your body, and you all know what I mean when we talk about the response, little symptoms start to seem to us, then you know it's time to stop, okay? So just do 1 either side and then stay still. Level 2, level 3, you've got a maximum of 6, 7, 8, maybe up to 10 for level 3. But remember, if you've added in the resistance band as well, it does make it quite a lot harder. So you might just want to do 8. Everyone else is back in rest. Just flowing in with the breath, flowing out. Okay, the stillness now for everyone, if you can. Good. I'm going to bend my legs and slide the cushion away from me. I'm just going to kick it away with my feet. And we're going to do something which is for the arms and the core and a little bit the thighs. So it's a full body exercise. This one's called half bug. Level 2, level 3, you're going to be holding your hand weights if you want to. Level 1, we are working with bent legs. Level 2, level 3 can work with straight. And we're bringing a bent knee in to the hands and taking it back down to the floor. Okay, so for some of you, you'll find the movement in the arm the more difficult bit of this exercise. For others, it will be the movement of the legs. But it's a slow movement. Don't think about rushing it. And again, level 1, you might just want to do one each side and then stop. Just about sort of reacquainting the body with the idea that you can move and gently exercise without triggering a relapse of symptoms. So once you've done what feels right for you today, just come back to allowing yourself to be still. That's it. Level 2, level 3, that straight leg makes it quite a bit stronger. So again, remember, you don't have to do your maximum amount of reps. You can do less. I'm just going to let someone in who seems to have got stuck outside. There we go. All right. I'm going to come now into complete stillness. So everyone, if you're still moving, we've still got lots of level 3s working away. Let's stop, take a pause. And I'm going to take a small cushion for my head for this next one. We're going to do clamshell, which if you've been coming for a while, you know it's my least favorite exercise. So it's surprising that I'm choosing to do it even when Ross isn't here. But I'm on my side. I've got my legs bent. Again, level 2, level 3, you can put a resistance band around here. It makes it harder. Don't think that you need to do loads of reps. We are going to keep the feet together and lift the knee up. You'll feel it, right? So the legs are bent to start with. I'm going to feel it in my hip and I'm lowering down. If one is enough, stick with one. I'm going to do just a couple more. Level 2, level 3, remember you add in that straightening of the leg and a little side lift. It's like a little Jane Fonda moment in between each of your clamshell. So I think I've done 3 now. I'm going to stop here and rest. It's quite a tough exercise, but you're strengthening up the hips, the outer hip particularly, and the muscles in the bottom, the glutes. And they're really, really important to keep strong because they're integral to our back health, our lower back particularly. And what we don't want to start having is back injuries developing because simply the muscle tone has been lost that supports us, our core. Good. Level 3, let's take a pause. Make sure you're not holding your breath. We're in this really nice kind of recovery position here, so just allow the stillness to happen. The easiest way to do the second side for you guys is to simply roll over onto the other side of your body. I'm going to come up and turn sides completely so that I can keep watching, but you don't have to do that. So just moving into position for your second side. Allow yourself to lie comfortably, and when you're ready, off you go. This is my worst side. I feel like I'm trying to lift a block of concrete up with my knee on this side. It's little reconditioning exercises like this one that allow us to notice how imbalanced our bodies are often. If we'll have a dominant side, or maybe there's a side with an injury that you've had for a long time, the body learns to adjust. We are definitely not symmetrical creatures. Again, back in that stillness once you've done. Great. Resting the head, slowing the breath. So we're going to transition now onto our hands and knees. So I want you to do that slowly, because I know for some people, if you're moving, it sends your heart rate up and down. But I would say just go slow, take your time, and let's come up onto our hands and knees. Now, we're going to do a movement that we haven't done for a little while. We used to do it quite often, and sometimes we interchange them just so people don't get bored. But essentially, we're focusing on all the same muscle groups, but it's called the leg swim. And we simply bring a knee up and forwards, and we take it back. So what, again, we're focusing on strengthening is the lower back muscles, the glutes, and a little bit with the core. So you might find just doing one or two is enough for you. They're quite tricky. Just ease the body in and ease it out. So I'm going to do 2 on each side as a level 1, and then I'm going to come to rest in child's pose, sitting back on the heels, head down. If child's pose isn't comfortable for you, come back into that side lying recovery type position. And it is important that each time we work, we tell our body, I'm back resting. It's okay. Don't panic. So we have to pace really carefully in the class as well, just to make sure that we don't tip the body into thinking that we're draining the battery too much. Okay. Make sure you've all stopped. Gently coming back up. I'm on my hands and knees again. And I know that this can be very tiring. So, again, just judge for yourself. We're going to take donkey kick. So level 2, level 3, you can put that resistance band on if you want. With donkey kick, level 1, we're just going to lift the heel up, take a pause, pull the tummy muscles in and lower down. You can do 1 each side and then stop if you want. Absolutely fine. Level 2, level 3, you know that you're bringing that knee in for the little bit of an abdominal crunch. So it makes the work in the core a bit stronger. You don't have to do that, but you can. It's an option. Okay. Again, once you're done, I'm going to come down into child's pose and rest. Head down, hips down. So the ethos with all of these exercises is stop when you feel you could do more. Don't wait until you feel like you can't. And that way we're kind of beginning to learn to override the system that's got stuck out of balance. We're stuck in that sympathetic overdrive, that stress response. So the body, as soon as it senses any stress or demand on the body, it goes into panic and it shuts you down with symptoms. So what we're doing is just kind of very gently sneaking in and doing just enough. Creating a safe space, reassuring ourselves that we're not going to do too much and we're going to stop. Good. Level 3, make sure you stop too. We're going to do 1 more. And that 1 more is going to be our opposition balance. So I teach this one in yoga too. I love this. But again, it's a full body exercise. So I'm going to take my right arm forwards and my left leg back. Now, if this feels enough for you, keep the toes down. There's still plenty going on here. No issues about having to lift the heel. But if you can lift the heel, do. we're going to bring that arm and knee back down and change sides. Level 2, level 3, you know, you can put that little half press up or the nose down to the mat press up in if you want to. I'm going to do 2 each side of this. If you're brand new, I would say just do 1. We're holding for a moment and releasing. And again, last side for me, and releasing. Coming back down into a supported resting position of your choice. And what we'll be doing after this now is moving into the yoga part of the class. So just allow a stillness. Get the breath back slowly into the body. So there's a lovely gentle opening of those back ribs. Good. Okay. I'm going to slowly come up to being upright, because actually what I would like you to be is down on your back. I'm not going to do, so I was going to do the sitting cross-legged little sequence that we do where we release the neck and bits and pieces, but it's a sequence. And knowing that my attention span on what we're actually doing is a bit limited today, my brain fog is at play, we could end up doing all sorts of random things. So I thought it's safer if we work down. And I'll just do 1 of each thing. So I've got my belt near me, but I'm not going to use it just yet. I've got both legs bent and I'm lying on the mat. And the very first thing we're going to do is take the feet a little bit wider and let the knees rest in against each other. If you want something under your head for this point, or something very small, then great. Okay, I'm really fine with that, if that feels better for you. So I'm lying down and I've got 1 hand on my lower abdomen, 1 hand on my lower ribs. And I'm breathing slowly. Make sure you're lying down too, you're comfortable, you're at rest. Jaw relaxed, tongue soft in the mouth. And all we're doing is allowing the breath to move slowly in and lifting the hands up. And slowly out and letting the hands drop back down. So if you're noticing that your breath is stuck in your chest and your abdomen isn't really responding, or maybe your chest is doing all the response and the abdomen isn't responding, we're gently trying to focus on getting the breath down there so that your navel lifts and your navel drops. Very slow, very slight. Doesn't have to be excessive at all. Jaw relaxed, tongue soft, forehead soft. Excuse me. Okay. So I want you to keep that slow breath. I want you to keep it going for the rest of the class. I'm going to bring my right thigh and cross it over the left thigh, like I was sitting cross-legged on a chair. So for some of you, if you want to really keep the effort low, keep the legs here. If you want to deepen this into a stretch, bring the knees in and hug them into the chest. You'll feel it in the right hip, the right bottom area, the glutes. Just go nice and gentle, but keep that breath moving. Jaw relaxed, shoulders soft. Good. Inhale and exhale, let's release down. I'm going to straighten both legs out, lengthening them down onto the mat before we come to the second side. So just giving the chance to kind of settle, let the circulation settle. Slow inhale, slow exhale. Good. Let's move to the second side. So I'm bending the legs. And I'm going to cross my left thigh right the way over my right thigh, again, like I was crossing my legs. And even this, so don't worry if you're thinking I'm just staying here, there's nothing happening. It is, it's a gentle opening in the lower back area, in the sacrum. If you want to deepen that into something a little stronger, then bring those knees up. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale and release. Again, let's go to completely straightening down the legs. Both relaxed, both heavy, both rolled out. Slow inhale, slow exhale. All right. I'm going to take a little stretch of my legs now. So I'm going to bend them both. And this is where we take the belt. And we're going to put the belt, or whatever you're working with, around the ball of the right foot. And just stretch that leg up in the air. Give it a little stretch up. So inverting the body, like we're doing with our leg here, tipping it upside down, is great for circulation. So if you're not very active and you're worried about not being so active, just doing this is fantastic. Giving everything a little bit of stimulation. Let's take a breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to let that leg come all the way down and straighten out on the floor along with the other one. Just lengthen down and just pay attention to how that leg feels as it lies back down. You can get all sorts of sensations as the circulation settles. Just observe. You might feel a little bit heavier than the other leg, maybe a bit longer. Okay, let's bend both legs again, and we're going to do the second side. So the work that we're doing is deliberately slow. We're almost sort of moving into a hypnotic state with the movement. It's very slow, very deliberately kind of soothing, because the body, when it's working sort of slowly and smoothly, can then give the signal to the brain, hey, we're okay. We're not stressed, which means the vagus nerve starts to reactivate and the body gets the signals that it's okay to heal. Gently easing that leg into a bit of a stretch. Let's take a slow breath in and slowly breathe out. Let that leg come down and let the other leg come down. Lovely, relaxed, long legs. Just Just allowing the sensation, whatever happens, just to settle and ease out. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Okay. I'm going to take the belt into my hands. Now, you can either just bend your legs here if you know already that you don't want to push yourself at all in today's class. We're going to be taking those arms back above the head whilst we breathe in. So you can either have the legs bent, which is a much more sort of easy, manageable movement for the legs and lower back, or if you want to bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees drop out into Baddha Konasana, then do. And take a little bit of a hip opening, but just know you're adding in a bit extra by putting those legs into that position. I'm going to take the belt in my hand. Make sure you've got clearance above your head. So if you're lying on a bed, you might want to kind of shuffle down a little bit. And we're just breathing in as we take the arms back. And we're breathing out as we bring the arms all the way back down to the sides of the body. Again, your arms will often be the thing that feels weakest. So if just doing that once was enough for you, then stop and rest. If you want to do it again, great. Let's go again. Breathing in. All the way back if you can with that in-breath, and breathing out all the way down with the exhale, bringing these arms back down. I'm going to do one more, but if you're done, stop there. But if you're coming with me, let's go. Breathing in all the way back. And breathing out all the way back down. Now I'm letting go of the belt. And I'm going to bring those knees back together one at a time, if you've had them out wide. And then straighten them down once again to the floor. Allow stillness. Come back to the breath. Slow inhale. Slow exhale. So we've got one more thing we're going to do. And you will need a bit of a stack of cushions for this one. So I've got a yoga bolster, which is quite deep. We're going to be taking the reclining twist. So you'll know you've got the right height when you've got the kneecap at about the same height as the hip bone. Okay? So if the knee is dropped lower than that height, you're going to make the stretch too strong for yourself. If you go into the stretch and you realize the twist feels too strong, put more cushion or more height under the knee, all right? Likewise, if you are quite tight in the upper back, neck and shoulder area at the moment, you might also benefit from having a cushion out behind you, because we're going to be taking that arm out. Now, what you don't want is for that arm to be floating in space, okay? Because that's going to be quite a stretch. So if you know you're a bit tight in the shoulders, have also a cushion behind you that the arm can be supported by. I might put that cushion under my head. So the important thing is that you're comfortable, okay? Let's take a breath in. And as you exhale, draw the same arm as top leg out wide to the side. I'm going to look up to the ceiling and just stay here, allowing that sort of, it's quite a strong twist coming through the spine. You'll find it almost a little bit more difficult to breathe in, but that's kind of the purpose, because I want you to focus on doing so and getting the breath down into the abdomen if possible. And what you're doing there is gently stretching open tension from around the heart and lungs that we store in those intercostal muscles. Taking slow inhale, slow exhale. Relax the tummy. Deep breath in. Let's bend the back arm and just roll back onto our side. We're back in that recovery type position. Let's breathe into the lower back ribs. Okay. To move to the second side, all we need to do is take the bolster, take the cushion, and roll over. So I'm on my second side, making sure the leg is supported. And once again, inhale, exhale, draw the arm out wide. Just do what feels right. Remember to support that back arm if it feels too strong. Put more height under the knee if again it feels too strong. And use the breath slowly, gently. That's it. Inhale. As you exhale, bend your back arm and bring it all the way back onto your side. Just lying here, allowing the breath to move down into the lungs. Okay. I'm going to roll onto the back of my body now. We're going to get ready for Shavasana, or relaxation. So I would encourage you to put something underneath your knees, maybe the pillow, maybe your bolster, definitely something under the head, something small, and get warm. Maybe it's a blanket, maybe it's a throw, maybe a jumper and a pair of socks. But come on in to that rest position where you know you're super comfortable. I'm going to stay upright so I don't lull myself to sleep alongside you. And I want you to close your eyes when you're ready. So when your eyes are closed and you've had a little scan through and you've made sure that everything has been paid attention to that needs support or adjusting, and just allow yourself to kind of settle down into the floor and take a stillness, take this pause. So today I want us to imagine that we are lying somewhere beautiful, outside in nature. It's warm enough, you're comfortable, and you're somewhere really beautiful, maybe one of your favorite places. And I want you to see what's around you. Notice the colors, the vibrancy, what textures there are. And now I want you to notice the sounds. What can you hear as you lie there? How does it feel underneath you to be lying in this environment? Get clear what you're lying on. What is the temperature of the air on your skin? Is the air warm or cool? How does it feel to breathe that air in? Notice if there are any smells associated with this place. And as you lie there, allowing this stillness, breathing in this place in your memory, I want you just to allow yourself, almost remind yourself of a time when you felt you're most well, comfortable in your body. We're giving our brains the opportunity to remember feeling like this. And as you lie there, breathing in this memory, just allow the stillness to continue in the body, the arms to be heavy, the jaw relaxed, the tongue soft. The shoulders heavy, the abdomen soft, the back of the hips heavy, the legs soft, released, relaxed. The whole body enters into a state of deep rest. And it's practicing this deep rest that's part of your recovery. Calming and soothing the autonomic nervous system. Taking a slow, deep breath in. Gently move your fingers and your toes. And slowly roll over onto your side, just into a recovery type position. Once more. Now if you're not sticking around for the chat and you want to stay in your relaxation state, then just log yourself out from class now or put me on silent and you can stay there for a bit longer if you want to. Bye, Tess. For everyone else, if you're going to come to close the class with me, slowly, gently bring yourself to sitting upright if you want to. If you want to stay lying down, stay lying down. I'm going to bring my hands together by heart center. And just take a moment to notice how you feel at the end of the class. Good. Let's bring those hands up to the forehead for right thought. Bring them to the mouth for right word. And back to the heart for right action. Namaste. Good. I love how relevant that is to our recovery. It's kind of a karma yoga essence broken down into 3 parts: right thought, right word, right action. And I think it's so relevant for us in how we look after ourselves in our own recovery. So, my lovely friends. Rowan, you have a name. Hi. Good. If you are going to stick around, I'll put my specs on so I can see you all. If you're going to stick around for the chat and you want to ask some questions, then great. If you have any updates or you want to share some stuff, great. One of the things that I know I want to talk about, and it's because it's coming up in the group quite a lot, is pacing and the importance of finding baseline and how do we find baseline. So I know we've got some people who've kind of moved further down the line with that and they're doing really well with it. So your opinion is going to be really useful here. And there are some people who are going, what the hell is baseline? How do I know when I found it? What does it look like? So I'm going to kick off with that, but obviously we can talk about anything else, but just be aware that being here and taking part in this discussion is also using up some of your super precious energy. So if you're already thinking, I need to lie down, I'm done, just log back into this and watch it on record later. We're going to have the chat, but I don't want you to kind of tip yourself into crash because you've stayed too long. So managing mental pacing as well as physical pacing is super important. All right. So pacing, discuss. I'm going to take me off spotlight for a moment so that speaker view is on, but I'll just talk for a little bit. So pacing is something that I think all of us have developed some kind of relationship with, whether we're willing to develop our relationship with it or not. But I think it can take quite a long time for us to understand what it means and for us to really think about what needs to be taken into account when we think of pacing. Because I know for me back at the beginning of my recovery, and I kind of marked my recovery from the day I came out of A&E and they'd said, you're fine, you're going to be okay, you just need to get on with your recovery. So that for me was the kind of week 10, week 11, something like that. And from that point in, I didn't really know what pacing meant. I just thought it was not doing exercise. Which I think we all know now, or most of us know, or if you're getting to know it, you know that there's way more to it than that, because we've never thought about our lives in this way before. I never thought that I would need to consider taking a shower as part of my daily exercise regime, drying my hair as part of my exercise, hanging out clothes, getting food shopping, cooking dinner, working at my computer, thinking. I never ever thought about those things in terms of being needed to be considered as my kind of daily battery drain. Because of course we don't, do we? We just do our lives and we push ourselves. And generally by the time we're kind of, at a certain point in our careers, we're just doing stuff and we don't even think about it. We set patterns in our lives and we work and we push ourselves hard and we achieve. And those are things that are important to us, if that's what's important to you. So it took me a bit of a bumpy ride to understand pacing. But then when I got it, I really understood how important it was. And actually, I think the art of going back and finding baseline, I think, is the key. So anyone that talks to me knows that I have a really strong recommendation for people to go right down to nothing for a minimum of 2 weeks. And when I say nothing, I mean proper convalescence, right? And the art of recovery, the art of convalescence has been lost from society because generally, we're just bombarded with this idea of you'll get through it, you'll get better quickly, take some really strong meds and get straight back into work. Don't give your body time to recover. You can take Lemsip max and just go back to work. You don't even need to be off work, just work through your illness. And we kind of have that in our society now. Whereas I think before we had the sort of the advent of so much medication in our lives, I think we just took time to recover. And there were places that you would go to recover, convalescent homes. Crikey. I've never needed one of those more than I did last year. But the art of recovery, I think we need to relearn it. And I think this is an interesting time for many people. And so the whole concept of finding baseline is literally just putting yourself into a completely stationary state as much as is possible and letting your body kind of calm and find center, because only then can it begin to recover. And I use the analogy, and I know Amanda G, I've been talking to you about this quite a bit, the analogy of, I don't know, I mean, I'm 49 next month, but, so I was one of the first people to have a mobile phone. And you weren't allowed to use them until they were fully charged, right? You'd get this message: do not turn your phone on until the battery has been fully charged. Joe House, bye, sweetheart. And I really like that analogy because, I think what's happening for us is we're not fully charging our batteries, and then we're using them. And what we then have is a corrupted battery, right? And so we do a bit, and we go, oh my God, why has it caused a crash? Well, it's because your battery wasn't ready to use. So that's my that's my analogy, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sorry if I'm a lot older than some of you and you're like, I have no idea that mobile phones needed that much charging, but they did. It was a 24-hour charge, right? And there's some people who maybe are also aware of that and, can remember that time. But I kind of like it because it's the same thing. You need to let the body find base and kind of do a full recharge reset before you even think of switching on and having a conversation with a friend or thinking of going out or, doing too much. And of course, it's almost an impossible ask for most of us, which is why finding baseline is so hard, because we don't have the space for it, So there's an art to it, I think, is what I'm talking about. And once you begin to understand how much you need to take out to let your battery recharge, that's when you realize how big it is. It's a really, really huge and significant act. But if you can do it early on, or, as soon as you realize that that's an important part of your recovery and you can kind of commit to it, whenever I work with anyone kind of sort of one-to-one, I'm like, just create a project for yourself that's about you, prioritize yourself, your needs, your recovery. And that kind of helps people go, right, okay, what can I cut out? What can I hand off? What can I delegate so that I'm just convalescing and letting my body find baseline? So I would love to hear from some people who've also gone on that journey and kind of found something that's helped them, or, found a technique that they've used. I know there's all sorts of great kind of apps that people have found. I think, we're really blessed that technology is in our favor for us going through this right now, by the fact that we're here connected to each other via Zoom. 10 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. So if you've got anything that you want to say, or a question about pacing, or this idea of finding baseline, or a story of success, then either wave your hand or put a comment in the chat box, because I'm likely to see that. Oh, Syra, there we go. I can see a waving hand. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
This probably explains why I'm here today. So I won't go on too long, but for those of you, I've been ill 13 months now. And I had sort of 4 months of being ill, and then felt loads better August, September. And I've had to work throughout because I'm self-employed. Or I say I chose to work throughout because I'm self-employed. Felt great, well, relatively great August, September, back on it. I went back full-time work, September, December, big crash. I did a pacing course and things, and decided, right, I'm going to go back to work part-time, because I was working part-time over the summer and that seemed to work. So I've been working part-time since January again, and I sort of hit a wall of stuckness. And what I've realised is the project I was doing, although I was working part-time, I wasn't able to get back physically to where I was in terms of walking and your classes. And so although I was part-time, the actual project I'd taken on since Christmas is really stressful with a really demanding client. So it's learning to realise that within that pacing, although, okay, I'm doing that part-time, that emotional and cognitive for me is a real drainer. So about 3 weeks ago, I had to just go, you know what, I've just got to quit like, you know, that then brings, you know, financial and other thoughts and pressures. But my choice was I could probably stay doing this all year and just stay at this level of survival, not really be going out to walk too much, not being able to enjoy socials too much, because I was choosing work. And really pacing is, it's at this point in time for us, and I don't think it will be like this, well, no, it won't be like this forever, but you have to make a trade-off between physical, emotional, mental, and just that realization of, you know, back to the baseline, and just for me having a real tough word with myself of, okay, I say I've got to work because we've got bills to pay, but actually I've got to get better and make that trade-off.
Thanks, Ira. Yeah. And I think it is, you know, there's some really tough conversations we have to have with ourselves around, you know, the priorities. And I think it's a really big one, because for a lot of people, you're at a really great point in your career, maybe, or, you know, maybe the income that you bring in is really important. And we've never had to choose between just our health and our career before. So this is like the toughest kind of thinking that we're doing. And, you know, Sarah, well done that you could do that and you could make that decision, because that's clearly, you know, the mental drain, as you say, is going to keep you stuck in that kind of slightly never-ending cycle of, you know, they call it rolling PEM, rolling post-exertional malaise. And that exertion can come from mental exertion. So I know that I'm totally able to teach a HIIT class with Ross now. I lift weights weekly, you know, 4 times a week maybe. I'm fit and well physically, but the thing that will tip me is emotional and mental exertion. So if I get stressed or upset about something, or if I take on a piece of work that feels too much or complicated, my brain just goes, no, I don't want to do it. I can't, it's too much. So I've definitely let go. So I used to do, before COVID, I was a facilitator for the higher education sector, mainly within university world. And I worked a lot with Oxford University, Edinburgh, Sussex, Leeds, wherever. And I was always traveling around the country in between teaching classes and running away days for university leadership teams. I have said goodbye to all of that, because I realized the amount of thinking that I do in that role. It was actually going to be almost impossible for me to get myself back to recovery. So I've let that go for now. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up. But just, you know, if I get an email from a client in saying, "Are you running workshops?" My whole body goes, "Oh, no, I'm not. No, leave me alone." So it's interesting, you know, that I have that reaction now. It's just like, no, I can't even think about thinking about it. So, you know, there's a lot that we're having to navigate these, and these are tough conversations that we're having. Someone put something in the chat, Rachel, I saw, you've reached a heart rate pacing success. Oh, Rach, come on and have a talk to us about that. So that's also another way of looking at pacing, by monitoring your heart rate. Unmute yourself, Rachel, and have a...
Yeah, so quite early on, I did a bit of research on using your heart rate and pacing, because I kept trying to do walks and it all was going horribly wrong. So from about 5 months, I did that really successfully. And there is some information on the internet and on our Facebook group pages on how to calculate your heart rate, because it has to be very specific to you and your age and all sorts of other things. And that helps to reduce relapses or dips, whatever you want to call them. And that was really, really successful for me. And I knew, and I still use it. So when I do the exercise classes, you've probably noticed I'm often doing this.
Yeah, I see you
checking. Yeah, and then I'll go and sit down. If for the Monday and Wednesday main classes that I do at a very low level now, I'll go and sit down. If it goes too high, while you guys will carry on, and I'll let it drop again. So that works really. I recommend doing a bit of research on that to help with pacing, because that allowed me to get fitter by a little bit of work, but not pushing too hard. Because obviously even things like stairs, I found impacted my heart rate quite significantly at the beginning. So I ended up stopping partway up and sitting down and things like that, to just make sure my heart rate didn't keep climbing. Now, the last few weeks has been a complete revelation, because I've done, since I started the stasis breathing, and they mentioned heart rate variability, which is different to heart rate. Heart rate variability is the difference between your heartbeats. And you should, if you're fit and well and healthy and running in the parasympathetic nervous system, so therefore healing, you should actually have a higher heart rate variability. If you're in fight or flight mode, you will have a low heart rate variability, which was counterintuitive to what I thought it might be, but that is how it is.
What does that mean? Tell us a little bit more about that. Give us an example of numbers.
So I can only give you my numbers, but it is very personal.
Yeah.
So if I give you an example, so you monitor yourself each morning, there's an app and it's called Watson Blue, WATTSON Blue. It was created for Oxford University Boat Club to allow their elite athletes, many of whom are Olympians, to train at optimal level, to know when to push when they're in their parasympathetic mode and they're healing well and they can push hard, and when not to push hard because actually it could make them more ill. I used to row for Cambridge University Boat Club, and we did similar things but without any technology. So that the concepts, the ideas go way back 30 years. We were talking about it. And so for me, if I give you an example on Monday, obviously I monitor every morning, and I can be between 3.6 heart rate variability. If I feel quite unwell, it'll go down to perhaps 3.2. If I'm feeling good and strong and ready to give a normal 360 class a go at a gentle level, then I'll be 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. In the variability.
Wow, okay.
Then what is really interesting is after the class on Monday, I felt really rough, and I overdid it, and I felt really rough afterwards. So I thought, I'm going to check what my heart rate variability was, and it had gone down to 2.1.
Is that after the class?
It fitted with how rough I felt.
Yeah.
So I lay down and I did 20 minutes because I felt so rough. Normally I'd only do 10, but I did 20 minutes of the 4-6 breathing, which I know you've done a lot of, where you breathe in for 4 and out for 6. And stasis breathing get you to do a lot of that as well, because that switches you from sympathetic to parasympathetic mode. And obviously I was in sympathetic mode at such a low heart rate variability number. At the end of that, I felt great. All of my symptoms had disappeared. I didn't feel sick anymore. And so I measured it again, and I've gone up to 4.2. And I got on with the rest of the day absolutely fine. And I haven't had post-exertional malaise. So I'm now looking at that. And each time I do an exercise session, I'm assessing it afterwards. I'm doing the stasis 4-6 breathing. And at the moment, what I'm seeing is it's allowing me to do more, because if I'm switching into that sympathetic mode, I'm getting myself out of it quickly, and it's not compounding it and therefore causing a relapse.
God, that's fascinating.
I know, my mind's a bit blown by it.
Look at this technology really beginning to be something that's making a difference. So I love the fact that you can look at your app and it can say, actually, no, not today.
Yeah.
You're not ready today. You're not in the right space. And then you can look at it and go, yeah, actually today I'm going to be good. I can make this work. That's very interesting. Wow. Definitely. Let's post that into the group. Rachel, I'm going to put you in charge of posting details.
I had thought I was going to leave it till the weekend because I want to really get my head around it and try and do a decent post.
Sure.
So I was going to leave it till the weekend, and I will do one.
Katie Quinn wants to know more about stasis. Do you know what, Katie? You need to just simply Google stasis breathing COVID and it will come up. It's a free program that the Mount Sinai University Hospital in New York are running, and you have a live kind of onboarding session with them, and it's absolutely amazing. And all the breathing that we do here is what they do there, but they do it really structured, and it's perfect. It's the best, one of the best things out there. I would heartily recommend it to everyone. Tam, you've got your hand raised. I saw that. Let me just check the comments to make sure there's nothing that we need to What heart rate monitor do you use? Chrissy Hunt. What have you got on your wrist, Rach?
Right, I've actually borrowed, in quotes, my son's cheap one, 20 quid from Decathlon.
Nice.
The only thing is, if you want to measure heart rate variability, that's that's for heart rate pacing that I use during the exercise classes. It doesn't need to be, when we used to train at the boat club, we all had polar ones. They're a lot more expensive. You can get one, and they will work. There is a polar one that will work with an app for heart rate variability. So it is worth doing some research if you want to buy wearables. The other thing for heart rate variability that is the big thing is the Oura ring, but that is really expensive. So I'd recommend that maybe for the correct, it has to be a specific polar heart rate monitor. But the heart rate monitor I use for classes is just Decathlon cheapy. And the Watson Blue app uses the, you can use an Oura ring and it will pick up all the data from that. But I just use the, brain fog moment, camera. That's it.
Oh, okay.
It's the camera, and it turns the light on, and it works.
Oh yeah, I know.
On your finger, it's so bright it can actually monitor what's happening with your heart rate through your finger.
I used to have an app on my phone by the Arrhythmia Alliance, which they don't have anymore. But I can remember showing it to a cardiologist 5 or 6 years ago, and he was like, "Good God, I didn't know about this. This is amazing." And it could basically give me a kind of complete sort of ECG from the light going into my finger and picking up the pulses. There's so much tech out there that's very useful. I'm just looking at Tam. I'm going to come to you. I've tried pacing, monitoring HR, but things like eating and getting dressed send me off my limit. How do I get past this? That's a really big one, right? Because for some people at the beginning of getting the kind of the baseline right, eating and getting dressed are going to push you over baseline. I would say you need to eat and you need to get dressed sometimes, you know. So what we can do is get slightly obsessed with the data. So I think there's lots of upsides of having technology available to us, but then there's also lots of downsides, because that means you're constantly going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And what's happening when I'm thinking that? I'm getting stressed. So you know what? The stuff that you need to do it. And anything else that's additional, you know, then start monitoring. But you can't go through life worrying that eating and getting dressed and going to the bathroom is causing you post-exertional malaise, because you have to do those things to live. So notice how many times you're checking. If you have got a kind of, I don't wear mine now at all, because I know I can feel it in my chest if my heart's doing stuff. But I love the detail that this Watson app goes into. Notice how many times you're checking your tech. And if it does become something that you get obsessed with, know that actually what you're doing is creating a kind of a hypervigilant state, which is going to be more stressful than you are actually kind of setting out to achieve. So, you know, it's about getting the balance right. Tam, speak quick.
Oh, right. I'm trying to remember that was so interesting, Rachel. Yeah, thank you. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
I think I was just going back to pacing, and I got COVID last like February half term when I was in London, and I felt a lot better. Well, I felt terrible, and then in the summer, a bit like someone else was saying, I started to feel better in August, September. I went back to work and I did an hour a day. And it's quite hard to believe how exhausted I was. I just went on the laptop and looked at my emails for an hour. But pacing, I've really struggled with, and I'm still struggling with. But I have done things, and I've my work. I work for a youth organisation, and they've acknowledged that they're kind of writing something for me, and like, they let me have my Tuesday, because I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they let me have Tuesday to do my yoga with you, Susie.
Oh.
It's written into my long COVID recovery policy for my, whatever the policy thing is called. I've tried to do other things. My son, I've got 3 children. My 15-year-old has cystic fibrosis, so he has extra
stuff, and he has a feeding tube, and I have to wake up at 2 and unhook it and flush it and things. And actually, a few months ago, I stopped doing that, and I kind of handed it over to him to do. And I just feel really pleased that I did that, because I kind of put myself first. And he's 15 and he can do that, and he can go straight back to sleep. So I've done that. The only difficult thing I've got at the moment is we had a really lovely border terrier dog who very suddenly died about 5 or 6 weeks ago. She was only 5, she had a tumour, and my son was just devastated. So we have got a new puppy, which is just exhausting, and that's not pacing at all.
Oh yeah, okay. That's not going to help you pace at all.
Really not. But yeah, I don't know. It won't last too long, I don't think.
No. Oh, well, you know, one of the things, and I'm sure anyone who's got pets will agree, I think my pet for me was a lifesaver last year. Just having someone come and lie on my bed with me, and I was in my bed a lot. Was so lovely. So, you know, I'm not saying go out and get a pet, but I know that there's lots of them, lots of us who have pets that are understanding the benefits of having someone that just wants to come up and cuddle. Have we got any more questions? Put them in the chat box, because there's, oh, there we go. Teresa, hello, my love.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can hear you perfectly well.
I just want to ask really about symptoms, because I think my symptoms are probably to do with fatigue, but I hadn't realized that. So if your legs suddenly become extremely weak and you feel as though you can't walk, is that a symptom?
I would say undoubtedly, yes. Yeah, hand on heart, and I see lots of other people nodding. It's your body saying, stop, you're too tired, you don't have the energy for this. I think we have to understand what's sort of happening to us. And although we are all on a slightly different journey with this, and we'll have different symptoms on a kind of basic level. If you have not got that baseline in order, and there's still perhaps emotional or your stress or tension, that you're constantly draining that battery down. Even if you're lying in bed, you're draining the battery down because there's stress and there's emotional, mental fatigue that you're creating. So when you get up and you start going about your day, and suddenly you get these kind of limb freezes, I call them, where the body just kind of goes, I can't walk, I'm done. I had one of those myself. I know what it feels like, but just one. And that was scary enough for me. I'd walked the dog to the park too early, and my body just went down. You're not going anywhere. And I literally had to lie in the park and be fine about it until my body said, okay, you can go home now. And I was with my daughter, but we didn't have a phone, and it was terrifying. And I came back and really started to think about what was happening. And I looked at what I'd done else prior to that point. And I'd done a bit of work, and I'd unloaded the dishwasher, and various bits and pieces in my day I'd done. And this was back last July, I think. So that by the time I got the dog on the lead and got my daughter and we'd got out the house, I was done. But I wasn't aware of it. But my body very, very quickly and very smartly said, I'm sorry, you do not have the energy to get yourself home. You now will wait until that's better. And I think, yes, it does create symptoms. Its job is to shut you down from doing the stuff that you're doing. So when as long as there's no organ damage, and I think that's a separate thing. And as long as there's no kind of real conditions that you're battling with, when we get this kind of symptom, this is from the chronic draining of our battery. And it gets completely reset when we're ill. And we're ill in quite a significant way. We really have to understand that with this virus. It creates a complete sort of, disaster zone in the body. And we need to very, very slowly help it recover. We need to reset. But because none of us really in this generation of existence have sort of learned about recovery or convalescing, we don't really know how to do it. And so it's this constant kind of going forwards, going back, going forwards, going back. It's a snakes and ladders experience, isn't it? Until we until we really understand, okay, the symptoms are there because they're trying to tell me something. They're actually trying to tell me, it's too much, you can't do it. Sorry, we don't have the reserves. So yeah, it's a slow process, and it can be terrifying when it happens. I'm sure, Teresa, if suddenly your legs are, giving way on you, or whatever the experience is.
It is terrifying, and then that spirals you into more anxiety, and it's actually got worse since I was in a car crash.
You're in a car crash.
My breathing with the seatbelt. So I was thinking, well, is it because I'm not breathing properly that's making it worse as well? I don't know. Just
Teresa, have you looked at the stasis breathing program?
No, I picked that up today.
I would really love you to just look at it and, sign up, try the onboarding thing, and get them to do a kind of breathing assessment, that you go through, and a sort of or what's happening for you assessment with them.
Right.
You know what, it can do no harm, because you've had a car crash in the past recent time, as well as everything else, so there'll be some trauma around that. Our body holds this stuff, and your breathing will be affected. As you say, you had a seatbelt coming across you and probably cutting into you. It was shocking. So there's a whole load of responses, new ones, that you've added into that magic mix of recovery as well. But definitely, and if you haven't, the stasis breathing program isn't just about helping people who are having shortness of breath. It's about understanding the importance of slowing the breathing down and breathing back down into the abdomen, and the impact that it has on your autonomic nervous system. And that slow breathing shifts us from the sympathetic, so it's really badly named, this part of the nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system sounds great, right? But it's not, because it's the bit that reacts to stress and goes kind of crazy and gives us all of these chronic symptoms when we're stuck in that fight flight mode. That's essentially what it is. What we want to do is work to shift into the parasympathetic nervous system side, which allows us to know, and we can only recover and do that when we feel safe, right? And when we feel safe, the breathing slows right down, because we're relaxed and everything is kind of So the stasis breathing program is great for anyone who's having symptoms of any kind, I would say, not just someone who's perhaps needing to relearn how to breathe if they've been intubated or, had difficulties with their lungs and their breathing. So definitely worth looking, and it's free. It's amazing. Anyone can join. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know if they've cottoned on yet that people from all over the world are doing it. Do you think they have? I'm a bit like, they must know, right? But it's in America, and America's big on charging for healthcare. So I'm hoping that at no point they send out a little bill. Oh, by the way. No, I think it's free, so please don't let me put you off. Rachel Clubb, you've raised your hand. Hey, love.
It's about the stasis breathing. Somebody mentioned in the chat that they had to cancel their onboarding and they can't find any more. I just wanted to say, you don't need to do the onboarding sessions. It's interesting. He tells you about himself, the science behind it, and what they've been doing. It's not essential. You have to go on the website and then you join to be part of the website. Again, no cost. You just put in your email address and I don't know, whatever else. And that allows you access to the members section. And there you'll find the introduction to breathwork, which is what he teaches you in the onboarding session, so you can read about it. And then phase 1 for COVID 2 and 3 are all on there. And it's really simple, it's really clear. So please don't be put off if they don't have any onboarding sessions. Just get on there and give it a go, because it is fantastic.
Great. Oh, that's really worth knowing, because actually, they're just programs that you follow online and you can do them in your own time. Can you tell the link? So stasis, we put it in the, if you look in the chat box, I think we've written the word stasis because someone was asking. It's in there, STASIS. If you just Google stasis breathing COVID, put those 3 words in and it will take you straight to their site and you'll just be able to open up the webpage. Great. Oh, well done. Claire Kilcourse, you're on it. Stasisperformance.com. Nice. All right, my friends. it's now 5 to 12, according to my clock. And I'm aware that, you know, I've had you in my company now since, has done that. It's asking me for what? Oh, hang on a minute. For payment. Maybe you're not on the right place because no one else has been asked for payment. Let's look into that because you shouldn't be being asked for payment unless maybe me just saying that about the American system needing to charge. Anyway.
I've got all of it downloaded. So if for some reason it's changed, but I would be surprised if it has changed, I can hand it out to everyone anyway.
Nice. We'll get that out to everyone. Don't worry. By crook or by crook, we'll get you on the program. Thanks, Rach. So, folks, I'm going to encourage you to go off and have a rest and eat something and do all the good things that we need to do for ourselves. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in today to class, and hopefully that was a useful conversation. I think it's quite good to kind of pick a topic, especially one that's really relevant to people. I've definitely learned something about that Watson app. That sounds fascinating. So thanks. Take care of yourselves. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you so much. Oh, Anna, it was your first lesson in. Great. Well, good that you came. I'm very, very pleased. Keep spreading the word because, you know, just having a support group, having a place where you can talk about this kind of stuff and ask questions is an important part of our recovery. You know, there's not many places where we get this wealth of information and support. So, you know, spread the word if you can. Lots of love, folks, and I'll see you next time. Oh, Johannes, I just spotted you down there on the bottom of my screen. Hi.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves.